Welcome to Wellthing Talks. I am your host, Alicia Castillo Holley, bringing you real-life conversations from Silicon Valley or somewhere around the world. We will talk about disruptors, angel investments, venture capital, and of course, family offices. Join me along with my children, their families, friends, disruptors, and investors as we explore the fascinating world of creating wealth in a completely different and authentic way. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy that you're here, and it's an absolute pleasure to introduce you to Christina. Christina, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for inviting me.
So let's start with the present. What are you doing today, and how did you get here?
Okay, so it's a little bit of a long story, so it's good that we have a little bit of time. Today, I am investing, and I have a very hyper-focused investment thesis in technologies that are going to make curative therapies more accessible to patients. And then, the journey here, it hasn't really been a straight path. And, if you've asked me this when I was very young, I never would have guessed that this was even an option for me. So as you know, Alicia, because now I think we know each other well, after spending a lot of time together the last few months, I'm originally from Panama. And, I came to the US in 1995 in what was meant to be just a few months break between high school and college. I was going to medical school, and I had applied to medical school, but I had a little bit of a break, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to learn some English and just have an adventure and do something different. So I landed in Connecticut, and I signed up for a couple of courses in a community college, and that I thought were interesting. And I always was interested in science. So one of them was in microbiology. And there I met a professor that, for some reason or another, which I still don't understand, he kind of changed the rest of, the course of my life. It started out with, can you help me tutor students, in chemistry, because I think you can really help me. So I started working with him and his students, tutoring the students. And then, after one semester of doing this, I kind of kept delaying my entrance to medical school to stay another semester. And then this professor, he found me an internship in a company, which at the time was a startup, but now it's a big pharmaceutical company called Alexion Pharmaceuticals. So I landed an internship at Alexion because of this professor. And then he found me a scholarship for a 4-year college. And, I kept delaying my entrance, and I never went back. He just kept opening doors, and I just kept going through those doors, every opportunity. After some time, I had already graduated, for 4-year college, and I had an invitation to join Alexion as a full-time employee. So I went, got the job there, and then after a few years there, I decided I wanted to go to grad school. So I went to grad school. I ended up at Cornell, and I did my PhD there. And then I became in love with science and research. And, I met wonderful people from all over the world. And which is the best part, I think, of being in academia, is just really, meeting everyone from everywhere and all these countries, which I never even thought about. I met my husband there from Bulgaria, and he was the first Bulgarian I've ever met.
Were you the first Panamanian that he's ever met?
I was the first Panamanian that he's ever met. But actually, usually I'm the first Panamanian because there's not a lot of us. But yeah, so very interesting and very nice experience. And then, so from then on, I had first an academic career in research. And then, at some point I jump into industry and, again, like someone will open a door and I will just run through it. Um, and, and, when I look back, 20 years after later, when I was in industry, I realized that I have built this career around cell and gene therapies, because a lot of my academic work had been with viral vectors, and a lot of my industry work, doing business development and partnerships was in the cell therapy and gene therapy space. And, I really love what I was doing. I loved the potential of these therapies to address the root causes of disease and, also to be like once and done cures. And I became really excited about, the possibility of having a future where people didn't have to manage their disease, but they could just go and, get it fixed. Um, and became very passionate about, that modality and that space. And, decided that I would do anything I can to help that field move forward. And, what many of us know when you work in that space for so long, the biggest kind of hurdles to cell and gene is how do we scale? How do we, because they're so complex, how do we make sure that we can reach every patient that needs them? Mm-hmm. And I think that's how the idea of the investment thesis was born, right? What if we, just focus on those technologies that are going to allow us to scale those cures and bring them to more patients, within the US, but also, globally to every geography, to every continent. And, kind of realizing that the field is going through this inflection point where we have de-risked the biology of many of these therapies, and we just need to find engineering solutions that will allow us to deliver those and to scale them. And yeah, so now I've been doing this for about a year and having a lot of fun in the journey, enjoying every aspect of it and everyone I'm meeting along the way.
Great. And you're based in Silicon Valley for the people that don't know where you're based, because I know because you're my neighbor, but just for the record.
That's what happens here.
yeah, and we go for walks, and I mean, you run. I used to run. I don't run much these days, but yeah, it's more than professional. It's a friendship. So very happy that you're here. Very happy that you share how you got here, because almost everybody that I have interviewed has gotten here in the most weird way. I knew what I wanted to do when I was 16. I wanted to be a scientist, but I've done so many different things that it's like, okay, I'm still a scientist, but that was not the way I thought. So it's important for people to know that the life takes you around.
Yeah.
I like what you said, that they opened a door and you went through, because so many people don't go through the doors that are open for them. Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah. I think that's true. And this is something that I've actually, reflected a lot in my life, like early on when I was young, a lot of people help, and they continue to help, but it was amazing. I feel very privileged that I had so many people that just saw me in ways that I didn't see myself, because I didn't really know anything when I was, 18 years old. I didn't know, anything of anything.
Yeah.
And now looking back at it, I think it's because people saw the potential and people just gave me an opportunity. And now that I'm older, I do knock on doors. I don't just wait for I don't advise anyone to just sit and wait for someone to open. I think you should knock on the door you're trying to get somewhere. Um, but I do try to help out a lot, like younger people, and
Yeah.
trying to be a mentor to those that are younger and earlier in their career because it has been very important in mine.
Yeah, and open doors for others.
Exactly.
I think that's pretty telling. I remember my first and only corporate boss. After many months of going back and forth, I was already a professor, and I said, I don't know anything about business. I'm not interested. And he said, Professor Castillo, you know nothing about business. If you want to change the industry, come to the business role and change it from here. Because at academia, you're not going to do it. And I remember thinking about that. I said, oh, what an idiot. And then I joined after a few months. I joined and I said, oh, he was all right. I know nothing about the business world because I've been secluded in research in academia. So those are people that really those are little things that really shape your life and go one way or the other. If I had continued in academia, I don't know. Probably I would have spin out a company. I don't know, but definitely this made my life easier. And I think the recognition that there's something there that you didn't know, and it's important, and the willingness to go through the door can transform lives. So I think that's a big takeaway point from this conversation. But talking about takeaway points, if you were to write your younger self, I'm talking, well, let's go to before you left Panama the first time. If you were to write yourself a letter, what are the things that you would say that you didn't know that you learned along the way? If you started, Christina, I want you to know something, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Everyone tells you this, so it doesn't really matter that now I kind of would have told myself that, and probably I didn't listen. But I think the most important thing is just to be patient. I have to say I'm always working on being more patient. I'm not naturally a very patient person. I've always kind of operated with a sense of urgency. And I think if I had been more patient, I would have also given myself, maybe there's doors that I were open and I didn't notice them because I didn't take the time to just, um, you know, sit and explore what all the possibilities were. Oftentimes there was an opportunity and I took it, and I think that's great. But I think that maybe there are other opportunities, and like now when you're older and you're making big strategic decisions or big important decisions, like I do that a lot, right? Like thinking of all the different
Yeah.
possibilities and where they might lead you, and actions you can take, or simply don't do anything, which is always an option. um but I kind of have to force myself to do that. When I was younger, I never did that. I just kind of just, oh, this looks good and it sounds good, and then just tried it.
Looks good, sounds good, must be good, let's go.
It's interesting, let's go. And I will just get impatient, like, why is this not working out? Or if something didn't work out. And I think good things do take time, but it's hard to kind of accept that when you're young and you think, like, I don't know, that the world is your playground, and you just need to play right away, with every toy that it's at your disposal, right?
I
And
like that. I like that.
yeah, so
The world is your playground. You just go and play it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I feel like, yeah, I mean, I definitely would have tell my younger self to be more patient. Um, I'm quite enjoying this investing journey. And I can't believe I waited so long to do this. I feel like I
Wow.
should have started doing this in early. My family, we are not necessarily entrepreneurs. I know everyone in the Silicon Valley comes from like a history of entrepreneur. I'm not. I'm normal Latina. Grew up with working parents who did the jobs that you did. back then you had like 4 or 5 options and everyone kind of fit in those buckets, and that's what they did. So, it's a good thing I had the opportunity to discover other options, but I didn't think about being an entrepreneur for a really long time. And I wish I had discovered this earlier, because I'm quite enjoying it. I'm quite enjoying the journey now.
That's interesting that you say that because a lot of people look at investors as people who have the money to deploy, and people don't realize that uh, being a venture capitalist is being an entrepreneur. Uh,
Yeah.
so, so that's really interesting that you say that. And I want to jump now into another question about creating wealth. So I have my own definition of wealth. I'm very passionate about socioeconomic progress, and I think venture capital investments are one of the key components of that progress. But I want to I want to get your opinion about what is your definition of wealth? How do you think we create wealth? And how do you think your professional activities are creating wealth?
Yeah. I think, for everyone, the war has different meanings. I like to think about what I'm doing more in terms of creating value to society.
Hmm.
I've really, I've spent a lot of time thinking about purpose in life.
Hmm.
And, at some point I read Viktor Franklin, Man's Search for Meaning, and really kind of came to the realization of, you really have to find something that brings you purpose. But I think more than purpose, that makes you feel that you're bringing value, and with value, perhaps potentially comes wealth. And I think some very successful people will say that. But I rather focus on the value piece, right? And I hope that, I told you that when we started this, I want to do something that meaningfully moves these therapies um, closer to be more accessible to everyone, not just in developed countries, but also in developing countries, because really patients are everywhere. And I think that can bring a lot of value to humanity. I also think, like thinking about our own lives as, if we have a health issue and, we can fix it, we can provide a cure. I think that's incredibly progress towards becoming improved versions of ourselves. 10 years ago, I've been in this field now for a while, and 10 years ago, people didn't talk about cures. Nobody wanted to use that word because they felt that, I say that, and then the disease comes back, how does that look? But I think that now with these particular modalities, we've seen that, people can be on remission for 10, plus years, or, longer. And now the word is being used more freely. And I feel like, that brings a lot of value to humanity. And I love to be, contribute a little bit to that. Um, and, yeah, I mean, that's how I see what I'm doing. And hopefully it will be a legacy from that perspective, that I, worked in a couple of technologies that allows to do that and to bring these medicines everywhere, and brought a lot of value to society.
So that leads me to the last question, which is about legacy. I
Uh,
am one of those people that died and came back. So since I was very young, I realized there's going to be a time that I'm no longer here. So I take every single minute that I am breathing, that I'm alive, as a gift. And not everybody has that opportunity. I'm just so privileged to be able to have lived so long. Um, and then I wonder, on a personal level, when you're no longer here, or when people who have no way of getting to know you personally, and this is one of the reasons why we bring the podcast to other people.
mhm.
Who are you? What is your essence? What do you leave? Who's Christina? What are people going to talk about Christina when you're no longer here, or when you're not here in space? Because you might be here, but you might be in another place. So what is your essence? Have you thought about that?
Um, yes, I think when you're a parent, you think about that because you're always thinking about, you know, what you're doing
I
for your
have to be a good mom. I have to be a good
I
mom.
have to be a good mom. What am I doing? Am I screwing them up? And I am not perfect, okay? And I am always working to become better. Like every single day, I see as a new opportunity to be better. So I hope that when I'm no longer here, people think of me as someone who always strive to be better and actually was better every day, a better person, a better human being. And as a proof that if you're trying to, achieve something in life, you can work towards that and you can evolve. And, and I don't just mean like, a tangible thing, but I mean, in terms of like what I was saying before, like trying to be more patient, try to be more present, try to be a better listener, like all those things I work on. And I hope that people can appreciate that I'm working hard on those and can see it and then take that as proof that it can be done when I'm no longer
We
here.
need to, we need to talk to you younger, to your friends when you were younger, and to your kids when you were younger to see if you're more patient or not.
I have changed a lot, and my husband, and I think he would tell you that we both have evolved for the better, I think. Yeah.
Christina, if people want to contact you, if people want to apply to your fund, how do they do that? What is the best way to do that?
Yeah, I think the best way is LinkedIn. I'm actually really good at responding to everyone that reaches out to me.
And for investors that want to explore investing in your fund, LinkedIn as well.
LinkedIn, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your wisdom with us. And yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to go running with you again.
Yeah, thank you. I see you soon, Alicia.
So thank you so much for spending this time with us. Christina is a neighbor. We become very good friends. We invest in similar things. We share some similar upbringings, and the realization that the way we view life from Latin America was very different. I've lived in many countries. She's lived in a couple. And of course, her kids are much younger than mine because she's much younger too. But there are a lot of investors that want to use money to improve access to quality care. And that's one of the things that I want to showcase and amplify. Not all venture capitalists are mean, and sometimes we're portrayed as being vulture capitalists, but the majority of VCs that are emerging or that they have a soul, they really want to use this powerful tool that is money to improve society. This is your guest. This is your host, Alicia Castillo Holley. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to our Wealthing Talks. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. To stay connected, visit us at wealthing.com. This is Alicia Castillo Holley, your host, and until next time, yours in Wealthing.